I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, May the 23rd, brought to you in part by ProBac by Bimeda. ProBac provides the most complete protection against common BRD causing bacteria. Other killed vaccines don't even come close. For more information, go to BimedaBiologicals.com. Also, Unionville Livestock Market and Creston Livestock Markets in north central Missouri and south central Iowa coming up next Tuesday, or Tuesday here coming up, I guess, May the 27th. Unionville Livestock Market's got at least 1,800 head already on early consignments. They're going to have a really nice sale for their special calf and yearling sale. Rockin' R's from Lucerne, Missouri. They're the ones that post those all-time record highs. They've got 7 loads of non-implanted background yearling steers, be all black, weighing from 850 to 875. Landrum's got a load of steers in there, very similar, might be a tick heavier. Locust Valley's got 2 loads of 875 to 9 1/4 pound steers and 1 load weighing from 8 to 8.5. And Ron Bickle's got 90 fancy calves going to be in there, long time weaned, and numerous other consignments in there, all be top quality. Check them out at DVAuction.com on Tuesday, right after the Monday holiday. Up at Creston Livestock Market, they've got a regular sale here today on Friday, and then they're going to have their special back to grass calf and yearling sale. That'll be Wednesday, June the 4th. Check both of those sales out at DVAuction.com. Supplies turn to Takeover. Now, we've talked about that before, but it is hard to believe that the huge run-up, this big rally that we've been on here for most, or over a year, about 2 years actually, but it's been really impressive the last 8 months or so. But that rally has been demand-driven. And you think, well, our supplies are so tight, that's why it's so good. It's actually been demand-driven. In 2024, our beef production was higher than it was in 2023, all because of the carcass weight so high. But now we're starting to fall off a little bit as we get into 2025. Our beef production has tailed off a little bit, and that's because of slaughter reductions. But with all the slim slaughter reductions and the meager schedules that the packers are putting out there, these feedlots are still current, and your packers are desperate for cattle. So now it's supplies time to take over their part of keeping this rally going, and they're doing it, guys. Our supplies are so tight, and in our slaughter cows, it's going to get worse. Our slaughter cows are now selling at all-time highs again. They've been really respectful here for the last couple of years, and they're always better in the summertime. That's when our boneless beef has the best demand. But now our slaughter cows are selling at all-time highs again, and new all-time highs. We're seeing slaughter cows, the best ones, sell over $1.60. We're seeing bulls selling way up, the high dressing bulls way up over $2. Joplin Regional Stockyard's best bull brings $2.22 on Wednesday, but it's the boneless beef and the lean beef. 90% lean boneless beef there is 15% higher than a year ago at this time, and 52% higher than 2 years ago at this time. So our supplies are going to get even tighter, and likely supply will be the one to drive us on up if we're going to get any higher than what we've already gotten. And I don't think that we won't. I think there's a chance we could, especially going on through this summertime demand, because demand's going to stay good. Supplies are going to get even tighter. We got a cattle on feed report coming out here today on Friday at 2 o'clock Central. Your May on feed numbers are estimated to come in at 98.5% of a year ago. Placements, that's always the big variable in the deal. Your April placements are pegged at 96.9% of a year ago. Now that's quite a bit lower than a year ago already with the estimate, the average of the analyst guess. and everybody's trying to guess whether it'll be more or less than that. I think there's arguments for both sides, but upon deeper investigation, I think the best argument may be for the downside. It may come in lighter than that. If you remember, back in April, it was really wet, especially right there in Oklahoma and places where we see big receipts of feeder cattle. We didn't see those because a lot of them were hardly having any receipts because it was so wet around, people couldn't get cattle in. The market continued to drive higher, and then we've seen a big run here in May of those cattle coming off wheat. We also had enough wheat out there that the guys didn't have to sell them. The graze out cattle stayed out there and kept staying out there. And then there were very few direct sales, very few cattle moving on a direct basis because the market was so good. Nobody would have the gall to ask what he thought the cattle could bring in the sale barn in the country because people wouldn't give it. And so, I always say that people take cattle to the sale barn when the market's really, really good and really, really bad, even people that don't like to sell in the sale. So we had guys that typically sell in the country selling through the auction because the prices were so good that they thought that they might get a better price, and they were getting better prices in your auctions than they could have got on a direct basis. So, the auction receipts for feeder cattle weighing over 600 pounds were down 13% in April, right through there. So if you go by that, and that's not always a true thing there, but 13% would be a lot less than just the over 3% that they're advertising here. But I think there's a good chance that it could be even lower on the placements than what they've got them pegged at. Your range of guesses is 95.4 all the way up to 104, and I don't know who would be guessing that, but I don't think there's any way that it could be heavier placements than we saw a year ago in this report. Marketings for April, they've got those pegged at 96.7%. But we like the sale barns here at the Feeder Flash, and we promote the sale barns, we promote the sale barn markets, we promote what they've got expecting to come in, their consignments, and every month we give you a buy meat, a market of the month, to just to feature one sale barn that's just doing a hell of a job for their customers and achieving these all-time record highs. And this month, your buy meat, a market of the month, no suits, just boots, is Unionville Livestock Market in Unionville, Missouri. Tell you what, Kurt and Heather Sport Leader, they do such a good job there. They posted that record high of some 860-pound steers, bringing 330, 2 loads of them. I mean, I don't know if that'll ever get broken. It may get broken this week, but I would doubt it. And I think it may stand for a long time. But Unionville just keeps lighting up the board, and they're doing a really good job there up in the Green Hills in north central Missouri. And I want to give them a shout out here as the Buy Meat and Market of the Month. Let's talk about your board on Thursday. June live cattle futures up 147 at 215.62. August was up 185 at 210.50. Your back months were all up big from 152 to 215 higher, and the board just kind of gave up on getting the market lower, and they started trading fat cattle a little bit higher, and that helped your board out on Thursday. May feeder cattle were down 90 cents, but that was the only month that was down. It's just trying to line up here with your index levels here, and the market has tailed off on big yearling feeders here this week, but not to say it won't come back. But the runs have been plainer, and so we're just not seeing those big time quotes that we saw here the last few weeks. But down 90 on May at 295.40. August up 335 at 299.77. Unbelievable. At the end of this summer, they are expecting these yearling steers to be up near $300 again. So it may take that long to get them back up there, not sure. But your back months on feeder cattle are up 284 to up 365. And going all the way out for a year, they're over 280. So, I mean, guys, dig into these calves if you want to get something. I mean, you can get you a protection level that's not too bad and put that weight on pretty cheap, and that weight is worth so much a pound. Let's talk about your July corn up 2 cents a bushel at 4.63. Soybeans up 4 3/4 cents at 10.67.5. July hard red winter wheat down 1/2 cent a bushel at 5.40. Talk about your fat cattle market. We saw a little bit more trade on Thursday, but it looks like folks are going to wait and see what happens with the cattle on feed report. And the cattle on feed report doesn't have a lot to do with fat cattle that are selling right now. Has more to do with your feeder cattle market, but it just looks like folks are going to wait until after that report, and that's going to be pushing right into the holiday. A lot of people are going to be taking off and heading out of town and things like that. We'll see what happens. Of course, they're buying for a shortened week next week due to the Memorial Day holiday, but Iowa sold 1,000 head is all on Thursday before 2 o'clock. 11,300 for the week. They sold live steers and heifers from 228 to 230 and dressed at 360, but they had some evidently high quality mixed pens of steers and heifers with a live price at 231.50. We haven't seen that, and 368, which is up there close to that 370 that we saw on Wednesday. Nebraska sold another 1,350 on Thursday, 14,800 for the week. Live price at 230 and dressed from 360 to 367. Now the Southern Plains hadn't sold many cattle at all. Kansas, a few northern Kansas top quality cattle sold earlier in the week, but they only sold 100 on Thursday, and they sold at 219, and I don't think anybody else is going to do that because everybody else resisted that. In fact, there was 220 bid in Kansas on Thursday, and nobody was taking that either. Texas has not sold a hoof on a direct basis yet this week. Fed Cattle Exchange was kind of interesting. On Thursday, their auction, they're getting a good price for fed cattle outside the lines. And how about Wyoming? Fed Cattle Exchange, fat cattle sold at 228, and they had some fat cattle in Alabama bring 225. And if I was sitting in Kansas and selling cattle at 219, that would be kind of embarrassing when I see that Alabama getting 225. Oh my goodness. Let's talk about fat cattle auction. Sheldon Livestock Auction in Iowa. They had 230 head of fed cattle. Conventional fat steers and heifers in Sheldon, Iowa bring from 225 to 233.75. Talk about your box beef cutout values. They were higher again, but not a lot. Choice cuts up 138 at 360.97, and selects up 67 cents at 348.95. Look at your slaughter, which is pretty darn good, really, compared to what it's been the last several weeks. Up through the first 4 days of the week, 471,000 estimated cattle slaughter. That's 12,000 better than this point last week, and only 9,000 fewer than this same week a year ago. Your actual slaughter information come back for the week ending May the 10th. Had your average dressed steer carcass weight at 945 pounds, back up after it fell the previous report, but back up 7 pounds from the previous report and 32 pounds bigger than the same report a year ago. Talk about what else is going on. How about livestock risk services? That's Dakota Moss and all these agents that you see listed here. There will be no LRPs written here today on Friday because they got that new rule that on cattle on feed Friday you can't have any. So I guess whenever they do have the cattle on feed on Friday, then the guys can take a little break from writing LRPs, but they are your LRP specialists, and guys, I would sure be thinking about getting one of those if you hadn't already done it, especially after this board's come up here late this week. But check them out at livestockriskservices.com. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market, brought to you by Specialty Risk Insurance, working to protect your livelihood. Your real-time index on DVAuction based on an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states after your sales had all closed on Thursday was sitting at 297.76, recovering a little bit because it's been in kind of a free fall for a week or so here, but up 65 cents. Latest CME cash feeder cattle index at 295.69. Let's talk about your big sales on Thursday. How about winter livestock in Pratt, Kansas? They had 4,600 head there. Your feeder steers were $3 to $10 higher. Feeder heifers steady to $4 lower. And we've seen that in Kansas and down in Oklahoma. The steers selling quite a bit higher here, mid to late week, and your heifers selling lower. And again, I think that's farmer feeders and northern interest coming down and plucking off those best steers and raising the market on them and leaving the heifers alone. Calves were not well tested in Pratt. Enid livestock market in Enid, Oklahoma, they've just been having a whale of sales. That's right there in a big wheat country there, guys. They've been having great sales there at Enid livestock market. Good job to Dakota Davis there. He has really brought that market to life. They had 4,000 feeders again on Thursday, this Thursday, and they were your National BeefWire stick-out sale of the day. I left the changes on there so you can see the changes from the week before, and they had a hell of a sale last week, but market was higher on almost every weight group. But check out your automated market report from Cattle Market Central. Look at your best tested weights. How about 518 head of 6-weight steers? They average 651 at 345.91. 370 head of 7-weight steers average 751 at 309.17. There were 556 head of the 8-weight steers. They averaged 836 at 295.58. That's awfully good. And 268 steers weighed 959 in the 9-weight category, an average price of 268.79. Look at your heifers out of Enid, Oklahoma. 172 heifers in the 5-weight group, average 551 at 321.89. 195 of the 6-weight heifers average 632 at 302.43, and 542 head of the 7-weight heifers. Enid livestock market in Enid, Oklahoma, average 750 pounds with a weighted average price of $281.38. Now I'm going to give you some individual quotes from all over, leave you for the long weekend. We're not going to have a feeder flash for Monday because it's not a business day. But how about on Wednesday, one that I missed from a market out east and kind of tucked in there, Hardin County Stockyards in Savannah, Tennessee. Kyle Haggard had 72 steers, weighed 719 at 335.50. That's a big quote, especially deep in the south there where it took place, guys. How about Enid livestock market stick-out sale? 149 head, weighed 823. They were steers and bring 303. Big time quote. Not a lot of 8-weight steers bringing over $3 this on Thursday. How about Lamoni livestock market, Lamoni, Iowa? I tell you what, those guys have got this sale on wheels now. They're having big runs regularly, and they're getting big prices out of Lamoni. How about 86 steer calves in Lamoni, Iowa? They weighed 547 and bring 431. That's a big time quote, guys. How about Stockman's Livestock Exchange in Dickinson, North Dakota? Had the DD spayed heifers, 83 of them, weigh 618 and bring 366 spayed heifers, guys. And then, of course, some smart ass in the crowd as the heifers were going out say, hey, check those for a heifer. But that's always funny. I don't care who you are. But how about Bluegrass Stockyard South in Stanford, Kentucky? Had your Macrocin No BS top quote for the day. In the Bluegrass, guys, 116 steers in Stanford, weighed 924 and bring 296.10. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.